My name is Penny K. Hoflinger. I know Jesus Christ like nobody. I mean, I just know Jesus Christ, but I also know the trauma of the abuse. When I was 6 years old in Thermopolis, Wyoming, I was coming home from school, and a 14-year-old boy raped me on the school ground. And from that point on, I lost my self-esteem. I didn't think I was good enough. By the time I was 10, I was being molested and used in any way there was. And when I was 16, I ended up marrying. He was very abusive. I ended up having 3 children by him. He also sold me so he could drink. All that did was impact more on me to the point that I wasn't good enough and nobody would ever listen to me. As the years went, my 3 children were 4, 3, and 1. And I had a babysitter, and she took them down there and said that I had abandoned them. The director and his associate was into black marketing children. So my children were sold into a farm in Kansas. They was used for sex and labor. And once that happened, I really just said, forget the world. And I put a needle in my arm and started shooting heroin. I didn't care anymore. And I had many people that was selling me, beating me. There was just a lot of abuse. And before you know it, you have nothing. You are just a shell. I was always looking for someone to just care about me as a person. I ended up being put through the trucking industry. And I was being sold from truck to truck, and then I was just strung out on heroin and all kinds of drugs. One of the times was like in Denver, Colorado. I was being trafficked there. Well, this one young man come and he bought me and he says, and I will get you out of here. And I said, you can't do that. You can't get me out of here. And he come back the next night, bought me again, and he had a plan, and he got me out of there. And when I was in treatment in Minneapolis, I had to stay for 9 weeks in that treatment center and 6 months in a halfway house and another year in counseling. It took 2 years to get my head turned around from the drugs and alcohol. But anyway, in that halfway house and stuff is when I was taken out of the drugs and the alcohol, okay? But I wasn't taken out of trafficking yet. I ended up in the trucks again. But I ended up with this trucker named Rick, the backslidden Christian, okay? And he used to preach God to me, okay? And I'm like, yeah, right. So we end up in Harrisonburg, Pennsylvania. There is a mobile chapel called Transport for Christ there. And they asked me if I wanted to get out of what was happening to me. I remember this love so overpowering that there's no words I can even ever explain. And this warmth, this light that was so magnificent. And this is what it said: I have enough preachers. I need a teacher, and I call you. When God called me, yeah, I've watched the doors open. 2011, God spoke to my heart and said, I need you to get out there and start speaking for me on this abuse that is so hidden here in the United States. America happens to be the #1 country in the world for trafficking. And there's a lot of young people and older people out there that are being trafficked, that's in substance abuse or domestic abuse. And they're crying, will somebody wake up? Will someone reach out? And once you start getting educated and you start looking at the signs, then the thing is, you can pick up on it. And my thing about what I do, and I've got tears in my eyes now, but the thing that I do out here is I don't want a little girl or a little boy have to go through the emotional trauma that I had to go through. If you are that person and you feel lonely or vulnerable or you don't think you're good enough, you are loved. Jesus Christ loves you. You are His creation. No matter what, you are still His child. And once you start realizing you're a child of God, you have just as much right to be part of anything and everything. The more that I speak, and the more that I reach out, and the more that I share my workbooks, and the more that I share who I am and my book and that stuff, the more seeds get planted. And I know that it's not me. I know that it's God. And everything that happens is because it's God. I am a grandmother, besides a mother. I'm a grandmother of 12. And I am a great-grandmother of 8 now, okay? And I kept my promise. God has kept His promise. There is no other way that I would be where I'm at today if it wasn't for God, And because of God, I'm still alive.